4 ways to discipline a child who won't listen. Hey there, I'm Charlotte with Colorful Teaching for You. Thank you so much for joining me. Have you used your teacher voice or your parent voice on your child and they're just not listening to you? Does it feel like every time you try to get them to listen, they put up a wall and they won't listen at all? Now, when this happens, it can be frustrating for everyone, isn't it? Because the more you get angry with them, the more they don't listen, and the more somebody says something that they don't regret. For example, you might hear things like, I hate you, or I wish you weren't my mom, my dad, or my, aunt, uncle, teacher, and so forth. It's heartbreaking when they say things like that, but it's just them lashing out because they don't know any better. And so we're going to be teaching them how to be able to handle these big emotions that they are experiencing, and how we can also manage our emotions when they're going through this process. Okay, so we're going to look at 4 different actionable steps that we can go through. The first one is listen before you talk. I know this sounds very obvious, but I want you to really focus on what your child has to say. So a lot of the times when a child is screaming, or they're not listening to you, or they just put up a wall and they just won't hear you at all, it's because they feel like their voice doesn't matter, like what they have to say isn't of any value to anyone, and they're not being heard. So even if you think you're hearing them, a lot of the times they feel like they're not being heard. So we want to be able to really actively listen to what they have to say. So instead of focusing on all the things that your child has done that's wrong, let's put that aside for right now, and let's actually focus on why they're doing what they're doing. Ask them, what's blocking you from listening to me? Or why did you do blank, like a certain action? Really focus on what they're saying, and then we move on to the next step, which is keep your cool. Which at this stage, when they're saying, I don't like you, I hate you, you don't listen to me, I don't care about you, you need to keep your cool, because you are the adult, and it's really hard in that time, because in that moment your first instinct is going to be to try and talk over them. A lot of times that's what we do. A lot of the times we get angrier and angrier, and they can feel this. Even if we think we're not showing to them, they can feel it. And so we want to be able to keep our cool, because if your child has these big emotions and you've got it as well, things escalate really fast. So what we want to be able to do is, while they're experiencing this emotion, we are here, because they need to feel that we are calm, we are centered, because eventually when they feel this, they'll start to also calm down. It may take a while, but they will get to this point, and that's where we want them to be before we can have any other discussions. So you want to keep your cool. The third point is to surround them with love. So let them know, once they're done talking and they've voiced their opinions, let them know that you understand, that you are in their corner. Don't assume that they know. A lot of the times we assume that. I do that. I just think that, my son or my kids, when I say kids, I mean my students, because I'm a teacher, they just assume that they just know, I assume that they know that I'm there for them. No, we have to actually tell them every single time, I love you, I am here for you. Let them know that you're there. And depending on if you're a teacher, you might need to do the side hug, but I want you to hug your child. Now this may be a little bit tricky if they're older, or if they feel uncomfortable, depending on, trauma and other things. Some kids don't like that. If they don't like that, if they're okay with a touch, or if they're, on the shoulder, or if you just need to be present, that's fine too. But if your child is okay with it, I highly recommend, once they've calmed down a little bit, give them a hug, hold them nice, tight, and firm, because this is going to help them, heartbeats together. This is going to help them calm their nerves down, because they'll feel your connection to them. They'll feel you there. And in the beginning, especially if you've got a little one who just, is very active when they're angry, it's going to be really hard to hold on to them, but I really want you to try holding on, because it's going to help calm them down at a faster pace. Okay? So you're going to hold on, show them how much you love them, how much you care for them by embracing them. And then the fourth step is to teach them about natural consequences. So once they've calmed down, like they really need to be completely and utterly focused, get all the emotions out, everything is done, and now you're sitting face to face and they're able to listen. This is when you talk about natural consequences. Do not talk about anything related to consequences until after they have calmed down, because you're going to get that wall that's already up is going to be even higher, and they're not going to listen to you at all, and that's not what we want. So focus, wait first for them to calm down completely, then we talk about natural consequences. So here, we're going to be looking at what happens when you behave this way. How does it make you feel? How does it make me feel? How do you think it makes me feel? What about other people around us? So if we're out in public, or if we are in a classroom setting, how do you think the other kids are feeling right now with you having this big outburst? Is it okay to feel these big emotions? Absolutely. But can we have this big, massive outburst? And when you do, how does it make others feel? And right now, you've had one. So maybe they're feeling, upset right now. But what if this continues to happen? What if you continue to not listen to me and you're disrupting the class every time? How do you think others are going to be feeling? Because we're now cutting into their learning time as well. Because what we want them to see is if we're going to continue on this path, it's not just, oh, I'm getting attention from the teacher or my parent. It's other people might be paying attention to me, but they're going to start to really tune me out. They're going to not like me anymore. I'm not going to have as many friends, or I may not get what I want. It's just negative attention that we don't want to draw attention to. So we're looking at that, and then I'm not saying don't give them a consequence. If the action warrants a consequence, then yes, we should. But just sending them to a timeout is going to have a negative effect on them than if we actually have this discussion, because they're going to be able to, you're teaching them empathy for one, because they're looking at from other people's perspectives, but you're also teaching them that beyond just me giving you a consequence right now, there's other consequences out there for you. It's not just one little thing. And so that's what we want them to see. That will have more of an impact on the way they behave than anything else that we do. Okay? So I want you to really focus on these 4 steps. So we've looked at today all the different ways that we can, we've looked at the importance of actually addressing, just the behavior, and then we've also looked at how to do that. Number 1 is listen before you talk. Number 2 is keep your cool. Number 3 is surround them with love. And number 4 is teach them about natural consequences. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me at any time. In the meantime, remember to create, experience, and teach from the heart. Take care, my friends. Thank you for seeing me.